All right, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, back for my post-market wrap-up on this May Day. It's incredible. I'm almost stunned at what happened today in these markets to a certain degree, but I want to put a lot of light on a whole bunch of things that are going on here. So again, post-Fed Day market wrap-up, and we need to talk. Before you even get started again, please share this video. I'm going to cover a lot of things with you. Let's start off with this. No monetary policy change from the Federal Reserve. Now, I am certain that those of you that follow this blog are not surprised. I explained to you how this would play out. I explained to you why. More importantly, the Fed was not going to cut rates. A rate hike wasn't even in the cards, in my view, despite the emails that I got, people telling me that the Fed was going to raise rates because they want to bring down the president. Look, people, I don't want to sound mean, but I'm going to give it to you straight like I always do. If you are existing in that paradigm, that in any way, shape, or form that the president is either trying to bring down the Fed or the Fed is trying to bring down the president, you're in a delusional state. I don't mean this in a condescending way. You're just not looking at the data the right way. You're listening to people who do not have the correct understanding or perspective of these markets. This is all I do. I understand these markets like very few people probably in the world do. So if you're going to look for a source, honestly, that can call this market correctly, and my record, ask any of my lions, is shocking. Okay, with regard to the Fed, I'm going to say it here. I probably have the best record in the world of anyone that I know of, at least maybe you know someone better than me, with regard to calling what the Fed would do. To me, it's an open book. I know what they're going to do before they do it. It's very easy to understand. The other reason why it's so easy to understand what is going on is we are witnessing, let me get the right perspective on this. You know, I don't rehearse any of this stuff. We are witnessing a crime starting with the highest level of government here in the United States, and I'm going to cover that too. So again, just to recap, no monetary policy change with regard to the Federal Reserve. This is stage one. Stage two is going to start maybe even today. Now, what will that be? It's very simple. And Powell today, if you noticed how his demeanor, the questions he was asked, one specifically was a setup question. Set up for what, you might ask? Set up for the good cop, bad cop that's about to come. You know, why don't we cover that first? I want to read a few things to you today. Now, I'm the kind of guy who will give credit where credit is due. I will also call out the lies, because I despise them, and I don't like to see the masses of people being misled, like those who are being grossly misled about how either the Fed wants to take down the president or the president wants to take down the Fed. They're in bed together, again, at the highest order. And that's what I'm going to talk about with regard to the crime of the century. The crime of the century that is unfolding for us. Now, at the beginning of Powell's testimony today, after he announced, again, no rate hike, stocks were higher. They were higher nicely. You were watching the bond market. It was a parallel. Stocks, when bonds started getting bought up, stocks went higher. When bonds started selling off, stocks went lower. Powell started off today with this, saying the U.S. economy is on a healthy path. However, not strong enough to sustain a rate hike. That's what the market wanted to hear. The market doesn't care whether we have a weak economy or a strong economy. All the market cares about is easy money. Me and my lions, just to put perspective on this, we don't care either when it comes to the market. When it comes to the market, do I want to see more easy money into this market? Do I want to see a rate cut? Do I want to see President Trump's wish of more quantitative easing that he called for 3 times come true? Of course I do. From that perspective, I will become exceedingly wealthy, and so will my lions here. So will corporate America. Again, it's a setup for a let down, just like it always is. Now, so again, Powell goes on. Initially, economy is very strong, doing well, it's on a healthy path, but not strong enough to raise rates. Then, I hope a lot of you are taking notice to this. When he's asked a question, he immediately looks down at his desk. He knows the questions ahead of time. For the most part, sometimes he gets thrown curveballs. We've seen this before, and today was a good example. He got flustered at a few questions. He started stuttering a few times. You can see he was stressed out. I'm happy to see that because I think the lies are getting to him. The lies were off the Richter scale. Now, this is a lie I want to talk about a little bit here. Please pay attention to this. Powell said specifically when he was asked, this was his statement, asset prices are not extremely elevated. He didn't say they weren't elevated. He said extremely elevated. This is another thing the market wants to hear, okay? Well, if Powell doesn't think the stock market is extremely elevated, maybe we'll get a cut because that's all the market cares about, pushing up asset prices. Now, what this person who asked that question to Powell about the stock market prices being elevated should have followed it up with valuations, something I speak about all the time. It was not followed up because it was not in the script. What Powell will not tell you or anyone here at that press corps is that stock market valuations are well deep into bubble territory. As a matter of fact, only one time in history, that was the dot-com bubble, have stock market valuations been where they are now. So for him not to say, he can't say it. So he has to lie. They're not extremely elevated. If you were to say, well, hold on a second, people, stock market valuations are in bubble territory, could you imagine what the market would do? He can't say it. The question cannot be structured like that. So again, there's a lie for you. We're going to call that out. Powell was asked another question, and this got him flustered. It got him flustered, and I was actually laughing all over my freaking office. He was asked about the weak economic data, industrial production falling off of a cliff literally for months. The PMI, the ISM numbers, all of them are pointing towards a slowdown. He went out of his way to downplay it and was talking about things being transitory. We expect things to pick up, blah, blah, blah. Got very flustered, stuttering. All right? He can't keep up the narrative of the lie that we are in an economic boom, the lie that this is, there is no recovery whatsoever. That got him flustered. Okay. He went on to say with regard to manufacturing being weak, he said, oh, this is a global problem. This is to his credit. I will give credit where credit is due. We've been hearing about some kind of a global recovery. Oh, no, no, no. And sometimes we hear, okay, well, you know, the global economy is getting weaker, but the United States is an island among itself. It's a complete lie. Here, he says it's weak all around the world. So we'll give him kudos for that one. Let's move forward. This is the part that got the market rattled and why stocks sold off through the end of the day. Again, when he made the announcement, stocks were higher. Then he starts to talk. We're seeing a lot of the volatility in the market. Then one statement, which is the setup here. Please pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this is the key here. One statement set up two things. Well, one more specifically, but it did set up the sell-off in the stock market, and that was this. Inflationary pressures are transitory. He said the low inflation that we're seeing now, that we're seeing low inflation, is transitory. So what he was saying is he's expecting inflation to pick up. Why is this a big deal? And why did he specifically go out of his way to set this up? Because this puts him at odds with the president right now, setting up good cop, bad cop. When the market heard that, hold on a minute, Powell said that inflation is low and is expecting it to pick up, that means a rate cut may not be coming. You understand? This is so simple. It's like basic arithmetic. And then the market sold off. I posted on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn to my Lions. I said, don't buy the market here. A couple of you wrote to me and said, Greg, thank you. I was actually long today. I would have lost my shirt had I not listened to your advice. Well, I'm glad to help. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put a light on these things. Now, let me go on a little further here. I want you to pay attention to this too. I'm going to close this page. So we understand what's going on here. We are now going to see stage 2. Stage 2 is very simple. Now that there's no rate hike and Powell went out of his way to say, specifically, inflation is low, it's transitory, that set up the good cop, bad cop between the Fed and the president. You got it? They're both on the same page. You have to understand, the Federal Reserve wants to issue more of its one and only product, which is debt. Powell today went out of his way talking about tools. I made several jokes about this on my social networks. The Federal Reserve has no tools. They have one tool. It's called debt, and they manipulate it. That's all they do. They have one single tool, period, the end. Anyone who tells you different is a liar, okay? That's the truth. Now, the Federal Reserve wants to issue more of their product. The president wants the Fed to issue more of their product by calling for not just a 1% rate cut yesterday, but more quantitative easing. Every day that the Federal Reserve is allowed to issue more of their product, the stronger they become. World central banks consolidate power on a global scale. Remember, those that are in that delusional state that I referred to earlier, I am not saying this in a condescending way, seem to not understand that there are hundreds of central banks around the world, and taking down the Fed would not do a damn thing. Understand? Okay. So the president is not trying to take down the Fed is not trying to take down the president. Repeat that several times and put this entire video into a perspective in your head. Use your own intellect. Now, here is how this crime is being set up, how it's the crime of the century. It literally is the crime of the century. There's no other crime that I even know of. Not even the Bernie Madoff $60 billion Ponzi is larger than the crime that is being committed here. How many of you remember, with a show of hands, and you can put your hand up if you remember this, when President Trump was saying he wanted these companies like Apple to repatriate cash here to the United States? No questions asked. He didn't care why they were putting it overseas. He didn't care how they earned that money. No questions at all. No questions asked. Just repatriate your cash here to the United States. Now, this was sold to the American people on the premise that, okay, we're going to let these corporations here repatriate cash because what they're going to do with it, this is how it was sold, again, is expand their businesses and hire people. Okay. That's not what happened at all. The cash that was repatriated by these corporations, we're going to use Apple here as an example because they just announced a humongous buyback program, $75 billion buyback. They used that cash that was repatriated to buy back shares of their own stock. So this perpetrated what the president did in collusion, direct collusion with corporate America that runs the world. They run him, okay, is a crime. We were all sold that they were going to take this cash. They were going to hire people that are going to expand their businesses. They did not do that. Stock buybacks are off the Richter scale. These companies are making themselves richer off of that scheme. The president is not stupid. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly why he was doing that. He's playing the game now with the Federal Reserve, making sure they go directly to the top of that pyramid. That's where they are. All the world's central banks are at the top of that pyramid. Every single world leader is doing the same thing at the same time. So if you believe that President Trump still, for those that are misguided, wants to take down the Fed, you believe that every world leader around the world wants to take down their central bank too. Don't you see how silly it is, this delusion that is being pushed? Whoever is doing this on YouTube, okay, I don't watch anybody's stuff out here. I don't want to be influenced in any way. Everything I say is out of my own head. I don't listen to nonsensical characters that go by a single letter or anybody else out there pushing the narrative because they don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand these markets. They're unable to see what's going on right before their face, or they are lying on purpose. And I happen to know for a fact that some of them are. Some of them are getting paid to do it. That's the truth. I know most of you are aware of this already, but it's very sad what's going on here. Sadder than that is the crime of the century that is occurring around us. This bubble in the stock market that is being pulled up on the back of the debt bubble, again, is unlike anything we have ever seen or witnessed before in human history. It is a setup for a wealth transfer on a scale that is literally unimaginable. And this is the same story with the market. They run in cycles. They go up, they go down, they go up. Every effort imaginable right now is being instituted to keep this stock market from correcting to a fair value, especially because we're in the election cycle. President Trump was well aware of that he was going to need these funds that were repatriated to the United States by these corporations to buy back shares of their own stock to keep the market elevated. I hope this is making sense to you because it's very simple. I am trying to put this into very easy terms to understand, okay? The financial world is not that difficult. They want you to think it is, but it's all a matter of cause and effect. Cause and effect, okay? Understand? The cause now, you know what it is. We are inflating these bubbles. When this bubble pops, and it will, who knows when it will? Nobody does, but we're watching that bond market. The bond market is the biggest clue here of them all. Yield curve right now, we have a partial inversion. Watch for a snapback. I explained this to you before. I will keep all of you on top of it. I promise you. That's the key. Forget watching the stock market. It's the bond market where we're going to see the action first. Bond market is the debt market itself. The dollars in your pockets are units of debt. They are not units of wealth. You don't even own them. They're owned by the issuing central bank, and interest on those bills that are owned by them is printed out of thin air by the same entity. It's a Ponzi. You understand? So, it's pretty simple. Inflate bubbles. This particular one is like nothing we've ever seen. When that bubble pops, the wealth that has been accumulated, because the middle class is always used to grease the wheels with their blood and guts to fight wars and everything else to boost up the financial sector, so the wealth transfer will occur on a grand scale. Nobody is going to, I'm already going to tell you what's going to happen because we've seen it before. 2008, how many fund managers, bank managers, high-level management got arrested or went to jail for the financial crisis last time? You know how many are going to go to jail this time? 0. Well, the people in the street are left destitute, struggling. All their wealth is going to be legally stolen. And it's a crime from the president and the Federal Reserve. They are doing this together. If you cannot see that after what I explained to you with the repatriation of cash, what they're doing, the lies, the manipulation, the fake data, the fake numbers, if you can't see that after this video, you are sincerely lost. And you really have no reason to come back here again. You should probably just don't watch my videos or seek help. Professional help, and I'm not putting you down. Some people unfortunately, they fall into stages of depression, anxiety, and some people fall into delusional states too. It's a mental disorder. It's the truth. It's a mental disorder. And again, as a person who practiced medicine for 20 years, yeah, I did. I'm not putting you down. I want you to understand, or at least try to grasp, the concepts that I'm outlining for you here. Now, this video, I am certain most of you will agree, has been very important. And you probably have not heard these things before, some of it at least. Please share this video far and wide. Get it out there. And if you want to make me feel good, I love those thumbs up. I really do. I'll see you tomorrow. This guy really loves you. It's the truth. I hope this makes sense.